Paralyzed woman, sat alone on her birthday. What this father did will melt your heart. The clock on the wall ticked softly inside the small, dimly lit apartment. Outside, the world moved on. Cars honking, people laughing, children running home from school. But inside apartment 2B, time felt frozen. Eleanor Hughes, 80 years old, paralyzed from the waist down, sat in her wheelchair by the window, a single cupcake in front of her with one flickering candle. It wasn't much, but it was something. She whispered quietly, "Happy birthday, Ellie," and blew out the candle. No one else was there to sing along. Her husband had passed away 15 years ago. Her only son had stopped visiting long before that, lost somewhere in the chaos of his own life. For a moment she thought about calling him again. Then she looked at the phone and sighed. What would she even say? Oh. Across the hallway, a young father named Mark Taylor was struggling to get his 5-year-old daughter Lily ready for bed. They had just moved in a few days earlier, starting over after a painful divorce. "Daddy, why's that lady always sitting by the window?" Lily asked, brushing her tiny blonde curls. Mark smiled softly. "Maybe she just likes watching the world." But Lily frowned. "She looks sad." Later that evening, as Mark tucked Lily into bed, he couldn't shake those words. She looks sad. He realized, in the rush of boxes and bills, he hadn't taken the time to meet any of his new neighbors. He looked out into the hallway. The light under Eleanor's door was still on. Something told him maybe he should check. He knocked gently. A pause, then a frail voice. "Who is it?" Hi, I'm Mark, your new neighbor from across the hall. My daughter noticed your light was on and wanted to say hello." There was silence, and then the sound of a lock turning. When the door opened, Eleanor looked surprised and embarrassed. Her birthday cupcake still sat on the table, candle melted into a tiny puddle of wax. Mark smiled. "Happy birthday, ma'am. I hope I'm not interrupting." Her eyes widened. "How did you—" "The candle," he said gently, pointing to the table. For the first time that night, Eleanor laughed. A small, fragile sound, but real. The next few minutes turned into hours. Mark made tea. Lily brought over a card she had drawn herself, with crooked hearts and the words, "Happy birthday, Miss Neighbor." Eleanor cried, not out of sadness, but something deeper, something she hadn't felt in a long time, belonging. She told stories of her youth, of dancing with her late husband under streetlights, of singing in small-town church choirs, of raising her son on hope and courage. Mark listened, really listened, the way few people ever do. As the night wound down, Lily was falling asleep on Eleanor's lap. Eleanor brushed the girl's hair softly, whispering, "You remind me of my boy when he was your age." Mark saw the tears glisten in her eyes and suddenly understood the weight of loneliness she carried. Before leaving, he promised, "From now on, we'll celebrate birthdays together. No one deserves to be alone on their special day." Weeks passed. Every evening, Lily would run to Eleanor's door with crayons and stories from kindergarten. Mark helped fix her shelves, set up groceries, and made sure her wheelchair battery was always charged. And somewhere in those quiet, shared moments, something beautiful happened. A lonely woman found a family she never expected, and a single father found a motherly warmth he thought he'd lost forever. On the next birthday, the living room was full. Laughter, cake, music, and a hand-drawn banner that read, "Happy birthday, Grandma Ellie." She smiled through tears as Lily hugged her tight. Eleanor whispered, "This is the best birthday I've ever had." Mark looked at her and said, "You gave us more than we ever gave you." Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness, a knock on the door, a shared cup of tea, can change not just one life, but two. Winter came early that year. Snowflakes danced outside Eleanor's window like tiny pieces of heaven falling gently to earth. Inside, laughter echoed. Mark and Lily were helping her decorate a small Christmas tree. Eleanor couldn't reach very high, So Lily climbed onto Mark's shoulders to hang the star. "There!" she cheered. "Now it's perfect." Eleanor smiled, her wrinkled hands clasped together. She hadn't celebrated Christmas with anyone in over a decade. For the first time in years, the apartment didn't feel empty. It felt alive. But as the days passed, Eleanor grew weaker. Her hands trembled more, her voice quieter. She didn't want to worry them, so she hid it behind her smile. One snowy morning, Mark knocked on her door as usual, but there was no answer. His heart sank. He knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. He called her name. Silence. He pushed the door open slightly and found Eleanor slumped over in her wheelchair, her breathing shallow but still there. He rushed to her side. "Ellie, stay with me!" Lily, frightened, clutched his arm. "Daddy, is Grandma Ellie okay?" He called an ambulance, his hands shaking. The minutes felt like hours until they arrived. At the hospital, Mark sat by her bed while machines beeped softly in the background. Eleanor's eyes fluttered open, faint but smiling. "You came," she whispered. "Of course, Ellie, we're right here." She reached for his hand. "You know, I used to pray every night for someone to knock on that door. I didn't think anyone ever would." Mark swallowed hard. "You're family now. We're not going anywhere." Her eyes glistened. "Then I can rest easy." Days turned into weeks. Eleanor slowly recovered, her spirit stronger than her body. The doctor said it was a miracle for someone her age, but Mark knew it wasn't just medicine that healed her. It was love. It was belonging. When she finally came home, the entire hallway greeted her with balloons and a sign that said, "Welcome home, Ellie." Even neighbors who had never spoken before were there, inspired by what one father and his little girl had started. Months later, spring arrived again. The air smelled like lilacs and new beginnings. Mark helped Eleanor out to the park, where they watched Lily chase butterflies across the grass. Eleanor looked at Mark and said softly, "You gave me more than just company. You reminded me that there's still good in this world." He smiled. "And you reminded me that family isn't just who you're born with. It's who you show up for." On Eleanor's 81st birthday, the park was filled with people, neighbors, friends, even the local news team who had heard about her story. When she blew out her candles, she didn't wish for anything. She already had everything she'd ever wanted. Lily jumped into her lap and said, "Grandma Ellie, what did you wish for?" Eleanor smiled, eyes shining. "I didn't need to wish for anything this year, sweetheart.